everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make these really cute mossy mushroom tree clay rings. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into the DIY. Firstly, you're going to need some polymer clay. I'm going to be using brown, and it doesn't really matter what brand you use either. I'm also going to be using this metal rod, but you can also use a cannoli tube. This one is from Amazon. It's only to be the size of your finger so it can be a perfect circle shape. I'm also going to use an X-Acto knife, and if you don't have that, you can use like a blade or something, just anything to cut the clay. You're going to need a rolling pin as well, and I'm going to be using a needle tool, but it's not necessary. Since I'm going to be making multiple rings, I'm just going to cut a chunk of clay that I think I'm going to need. I'm going to take the clay and then just soften it by kneading it up in my hands and warming it up. And then I'm going to roll it into a ball and squish it down so it's flatter. I'm going to be using one of these little mechanisms that flatten the clay, but of course you can just use a rolling pin if you don't have one. I got this one really cheap on Amazon if you guys want one. So this is what it looks like. Once you have a flat looking turd, you're just going to use your blade and cut like a rectangle shape just to make sure that all the sides are straight. Then I'm going to cut out multiple strips of clay. These I'm just eyeballing how long they are. Of course you can measure and wrap it around your finger. Then I'm going to be using my needle tool. You guys can use a toothpick or whatever you have. I'm just going to be drawing lines in each one of these to make like a tree bark texture. And then I'm going to be going in with my dotting tool and making those lines deeper. As long as you have something that vaguely resembles tree bark, you're doing it right. And this is what mine ended up looking like. So now I'm going to be using multiple different colors of clay to decorate it. I'm using red, glow-in-the-dark clay, transparent clay, green clay, and then this light brown clay, but I didn't really end up using that. So just use any colors you want. I'm going to be taking some of this glow-in-the-dark clay and making a little tiny oval. I'm going to be drawing lines in there with my needle tool, and this is going to be a mushroom. So I'm going to create those clusters of mushrooms that you see on the trees. I'll put a picture on the screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I'm basically just making an oval and then putting it where I want it and using my dotting tool to kind of smooth it out at the bottom. Since my green clay was a little bit too neon for my liking, I mixed it with some brown and created like a mossy green color. And I'm using this to add some moss onto my tree. So I'm just placing a little bit of clay and then I'm using my needle tool to kind of roughen that out and create some texture like it's moss. Next, I'm just going to be adding some random things to fill up the rest of the space on the tree. I'm rolling up some transparent clay into really tiny little balls, and I'm using my dotting tool to pick that up and I'm putting it onto the bark. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It could maybe be some weird looking mushrooms, some weird looking fungus. I don't know. Whatever you want to add it. Next, I'm going to add some red mushrooms. So I'm rolling up some transparent clay and I'm placing it onto the tree bark, and then I'm just kind of flattening it out. I'm using a tiny bit of red clay and forming it into an oval. And then the same way that we attach the mushrooms, I'm going to be attaching the top of this red mushroom as well. I'm also going to be adding some white little flakes. I know sometimes trees have like this white flaky substance on it. It could be fungus. I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm adding it onto this tree bark to kind of make it look more realistic and to fill up the space. And this is what it ended up looking like once I added everything. And now I'm going to be using my rod, or you can use your cannoli tube, and I'm going to be wrapping this around the rod and cutting it with my blade where it meets. I like to leave a little space, that way the ring is easier to slip on and off, but you guys can connect it to create a solid ring. And this is what it looks like on the rod. And of course, I made a whole bunch of them because I'm making them for my Etsy shop, so if you guys don't feel like making one, you can pick one up there. I'm going to be glazing these using some triple thick and just a regular brush. And it's kind of hard to take these off, guys, so what I do is I use my X-Acto knife and I wedge it underneath, and then they become easier to come off. Now it is time to glaze all of these beautiful rings. I put a pretty thick layer of gloss. Make sure you get the insides and the edges of the ring as well. This is what they ended up looking like. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoyed this DIY. And of course, I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys!